Hey everyone, and welcome to Signals from the Frontline, your every Wednesday live broadcast brought to you by Frontline Gaming. We are your hosts, Kicker, the chief of cereal and the sigillite of the FLG. And I'm Seth the Mad Dog, your competitive correspondent. Kicker, what have you been up to, buddy?
Dude, I've been binge watching The Expanse. It is so
Yeah.
damn good. I mean, I didn't know this thing existed till about 2 weeks ago, and I'm just hooked. I mean, I don't ever watch like much TV at all, but 3 hours a night right now is 3 episodes basically. I got to.
Is that why you're not getting your hobbying done?
Well, so yeah, I know, right? And I have an RTT in 2 weeks, and I want to run the Eldar, so I've been going nonstop. Can we show my hobby progress? I have been working, so I've been watching TV, and trying to work a little bit while doing that. Do you got my photos, Mr. Tech Priest? Rich, there we go, sweet.
Tech Priest is working on it.
Tech Priest is working on my photos. Yeah, so I've been trying to just get a color scheme down.
There we go.
There we go. So those are my Rangers. They're quick and dirty, but the key thing there is quick because I'm trying to do an entire 2,000 point army in about 3 weeks.
So the chat wants to know how far you're into the Expanse.
Oh, I am on season 5, so I think the second to last season, and it is solid. Like, I mean, okay, season 3 and 4 were like, maybe we should pause this, turn it off. But season 5 is like, boom, yes, we are in 100%.
All right.
Yeah. What about you, Seth? What have you been up to? Have you been playing Pokemon or something?
No, I have not. I've had to put a halt on my Pokemon budget because I spent a lot.
Until?
When Pokemon, probably more on Pokemon than I did. Anyway, but Warhammer Total War 3 came out.
Ooh, yes.
Been playing that. I finally beat the Kislev campaign last night. Super excited about that. We finished watching Peacemaker. Have you watched Peacemaker, Kicker?
No, but it's on my queue. It keeps them popping up. Like
it is absolutely hilarious and totally worth your time. And then we went to see The Batman on Sunday, which was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm a huge Batman nerd anyway. Like, you can't see here, but like right there are multiple Batman posters in my little streaming room here. So huge Batman nerd. So super enjoyed it. And then I signed up for my next event, and I kind of want to give them a shout out here. It's for the Battle to End Alzheimer's. It's a charity event ran out of Tables and Towers, which, if you remember, is the store owned by Anthony Birdsong, but it's being put on by JC Watts, one of my friends back up in Maryland. So I'm going to be heading up there. It is the 9th. I'm going to double check. I believe it's the 9th and 10th of April. Yes, it is. I still believe there are tickets on sale. Anthony's store is supposed to be super nice, so I'm going to check that out. And I hear that there's going to be a ability to purchase pies to pie certain 40K individuals.
This is great.
And I have been told that you can pie TJ Lanigan. And TJ is a friend of mine, so I think I'm gonna have to pie TJ.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if you should be saying that. Well, so you buy a pie for charity.
Yep.
You don't eat the pie. You use the pie to.
It's just it's a tin with whipped cream, and you just go and
boom.
pie.
Can you do this like mid game? Because I could see this being a real.
I don't know, but if you could, it would be amazing. Be like, distraction pie. I think Tech Priest Richard has some new tech today.
Ooh, yes, let's hear it.
I totally forgot to bring myself in so people could. It's one of those. You guys will notice that your messages are showing up on the show. So but keep giving us love. This is awesome.
And I believe it's if you want to get your message on the show, it's the Twitch chat that we're able to display.
Twitch is the place to be. So yeah.
So Tech Priest Richard has the ability to pull your comments out of Twitch and put them on screen for us. So
and this is just And just to remind you guys, we are a live show every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that you can participate in all the fun visual elements of the show and get to be part of the chat, which is always entertaining. And our chat really has been extremely entertaining and growing and growing. I think Twitch is the main platform we're going to be using right now, but we are on YouTube and all the internet stuff.
Yep. Kicker, take us into industry news. We got to keep it short, though, because we have a special guest tonight, folks.
We do have a special guest tonight. Okay, let's do this, guys. NIDS, it's official. The book has been announced. We all knew it was coming, but it's always that nice little feeling when you know, okay, there you are. It's been announced. We see the cover. We know what's happening. So we know the Tyranid book is on the horizon. With that said, we also have seen the brand new Tyranid Combat Patrol box. There's a lot of gaunts in this. I think there are 2 or 3 squads, Seth. Do you remember? I know there's at least 2
like
boxes.
30.
It's a
It's a
ton
lot.
of gaunts.
It's a lot.
But which is interesting though, right? Because GW did this with the Aldari Combat Patrol box, where there's multiple squads of the same unit. Traditionally, they would just give you kind of a shotgun effect, a bunch of random sprinklings of things. Here we're getting in the Aldari's, I think 2 units of the Wind Riders, and now we're getting at least 2, maybe 3 units of the Gaunts. I don't know what to think about it. I think it's kind of cool. You can lean into a build already. What do you think about that, Seth? Do you think it's just annoying that they're giving you multiple units in one box?
I like that because those basic troop things are always, they might not be good right now, but there's always something that you kind of want to have in your army, or your collection in the event that cycles around and becomes good.
Talking about NIDS, we got to talk about the new model. I mean, NIDS got a brand new fancy model, the Parasite of Mortex. He's got some pretty novel rules. Seth, I know you are the expert here when it comes to the rules. Did you do the deep dive in here? I mean, there were some kind of cool tidbits that were announced 2 days ago.
Yeah, so it's a character model, and it has a pretty good stat line. The big thing is it has a really long movement, like a 16-inch movement.
It moves faster than the Elder like jet bikes.
Yeah.
Like what? Seriously?
And they didn't show us all of its Warwick gear, but they did show us the barbed ovopositiontor. I don't know how to say that. I don't know anyone does.
It's okay. No, we don't.
But importantly, it's a single strength 6 AP1 attack that if it wounds, it does 1 damage, but also if it wounds, it infects the unit with a parasite that does 1 mortal wound. And then each subsequent turn you roll, and on a 1 through 3, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds and it's no longer infected. And on a 4, 5, 6, it suffers D3 mortal wounds and it remains infected. So you could keep doing mortal wounds to a unit.
I love it.
And if the unit suffers 2 or more mortal wounds at any point because of that, you spawn a Ripper.
How cool is this? Like, I love this rule. This is so much fun. Like, this is the kind of stuff that I want to see more of. And then I think they also lose objective secured or something.
It has, and it's an amazing name. The rule is called It Itches. While they have that parasite effect, not only do they take mortal wounds, they lose obsec. So it's a great little character just to run in and be like, yeah, smack a unit, a cheap troop unit, takes away obsec, and it just slowly grinds that unit down over time. So I'm really liking it. I think that if they still, NIDS are always we're a movement army the last few editions. So if they keep that ability to move kind of quickly and they have all those obsec bugs, that'd be a really great combo to be like, I hit your unit and it loses obsec, and then I ran a bunch of cheap termagants on there and boom, it's mine.
So we're talking about really cool rules we're getting for 40K for the NIDS. No, what's not getting really cool rules for 40K? The Corsairs, dude, the Kill Team box, like they've got such cool rules for Kill Team, but I'm looking here at the Shade Runner rules. This is the ninja Corsair guy with the 2 like daggers. He's never going to get played in 40K. He's probably the coolest model in the entire kit.
Sean Naden is now going to make a event winning list with that model just to prove you wrong.
Do it, please. I want you to do that because I want to run that model. Like I love that model, but it really, I just wish that some of the Kill Team minis got the same kind of cool rules to use in 40K. And I know it's probably not possible because it's just.
Are you complaining that Eldar didn't get enough rules? Have you seen the size of that book, Kicker?
You're right. All right. Moving right along. Speaking about Eldar still though, right? Hey, what's up? Shining Spears and the Avatar have still not dropped, which is kind of annoying. So that's probably gonna happen in 2 or 3 weeks, but which means I'm not running them for this RTT that I'm prepping for. I was really hoping that they would have arrived. I've been announced, with an order date. So I know that doesn't mean I know you hate Eldar. You don't care less, Seth, but I have to wait a little bit longer, and we all have to wait a little bit longer for that gorgeous Avatar model.
Yep.
Seth, I think we need to do it now. I think we need to bring in somebody.
All right. So
somebody very special.
Tonight, we're going to bring on someone you probably recognize. We're bringing on Steve Joll. He is the smoothest voice in Warhammer. I'm waiting for him to pop up on the screen so he can say hi. There we go. Hey, Steve. Say hi to everyone. Yeah.
You are extremely generous. I do not think that we are nearly in the same sort of world or universe.
Yeah, I frequently have I used to watch Signals when years ago, and I'm like, I'm not doing that now. Are they sure this is still happening? Yeah,
the show is a legacy show.
Is saying they cannot hear Steve.
Okay, let's get Steve. Rich, if you could work on Steve's voice there. Seth, why don't you give a little introduction on Steve real fast? Steve, can you test your mic real fast?
Yeah, sure. Well, hopefully this is working. I don't know. If you can't hear me, you can't hear me.
Okay,
We're good.
chat saying you're good. Seth,
Well,
will you give a little
Richard's saying you're
introduction?
good. Let's see if chat says you're good or not.
Seth,
We'll
will you give
give
a
it a
little
second.
introduction on Steve? Maybe,
Yeah.
what podcast he's done, what because not
Yeah,
everyone, I mean, Steve is famous, but not everyone necessarily knows.
Steve's everywhere. He's omnipresent. He for us, he does Game Changers, which has been a great series. He also is now one of the co-hosts on the Art of War OG, or as some of his fellow podcasts call him, the Art of War Vanilla Kiwi.
Yeah.
And you've been doing some work with Canhammer too, is that right?
Occasional guest spots. They call me
Yeah.
the honorary Canadian. Kiwis and Canadians have this real, and I don't know if it's just because we're both ruled by the Queen. We're both Commonwealth countries, but we have a real affinity for each other. I think probably it's because Canadians and Kiwis both are right alongside a much bigger country, which is kind of dominant when it comes to sport and almost everything else. So we kind of feel for each other in that way.
Yeah. And before all this, you did 40K Today, right?
Yeah, we had a little podcast called 40K Today. John Damaris and I started that one up, and that was a daily news show, which
That was amazing that for somebody to do that every single day. I mean, hats off to you, man.
Well, as we showed, and I think this was probably the big takeaway from the podcast, it's untenable. Like, you can't keep that up. Like, we tried, and it went for can't even remember how long. It went for a little while. Like, we did pretty well, but then it just got to a point where as soon as somebody dropped, then it just became super hard for everybody else. I think one of the big things was I got to meet some really, really, really cool people through that podcast. Because we were doing a show every single day, I was able to meet some great people, and then including Reese, which is I spoke to Reese for 40K Today the first time around, and then that's what led to me approaching him to see if Frontline would host this crazy idea I had for a podcast called 40K Game Changers.
I don't know if you can show that comment from Scotty D49, Richard, but I'll read it out for you, Steve. It says, "Oh, come on, the All Blacks smash the Wallabies in rugby all the time, Steve. Us Aussies aren't that bad."
No, Aussies are amazing, and I think that's amazingly generous of Scotty D49 to comment on the All Blacks beating the Wallabies. You're right, but that's the only team of ours that ever beats Australia at anything. We get caned in the cricket and in the rugby league and in the netball, and every now and then we'll win a game and we'll be like, yeah, we beat Australia at cricket. It's amazing, and which is cool, but it's the exception that proves the rule. So, Scotty, thank you for that.
So tonight we brought you on to talk about media and 40K, and I think we do need to inform everyone a little bit. Like what is your background in media? What's your day job here?
We before we get into that, we have to do, it'd be due diligence, Seth. Please, due diligence. I mean,
go ahead.
We have to ask you, Steve. It is a requirement on the show. What is your favorite sugary breakfast cereal? And I'd love to hear something special and unique to New Zealand.
Oh my God,
we don't. Granola, the interview is over. By the way,
no granola. You're not allowed. We had no granola.
We've had two granolas.
I had granola this morning for breakfast, but it's not my favorite, not by a long shot. That has much more to do with my age and the necessity for fiber.
I mean, functional is important.
Yeah,
we have. I don't know if you even will know what this is, but we have a thing here called Cluster Crisp, and it's like clusters of oats. And
that sounds glorious. I mean, the name just is classy. It sounds like a legend, like a classic cereal, a classy cereal.
We also, for the longest time, we had cereal's a weird thing, because for the longest time we would see American TV shows and we'd see things like Fruit Loops, and you've got this one with a tiger on it, Frosted something.
Frosted Flakes.
All these amazing exotic cereals that I didn't get when I was growing up, that were only like something I would see on TV. Oh. But we have those now, but I can't eat them now because sugar just wrecked me. So,
well, I'm sorry your childhood was so deprived.
It really was.
Sounds very traumatizing, but it seems like you turned out okay. Seth, take it away with a little bit of background.
We were talking about media and the 40K, and we wanted to kind of talk about your background a little bit before we jump into that topic. So why don't you tell everyone at home what you do as a day job, Steve?
So my day job for the last 22 years has been as a breakfast radio host, which I don't know if you call it breakfast in the States. It's morning AM drive. So I'm on the radio from 6 in the morning until 10 in the morning. So I get to work at the beautiful hour of about 4:30 a.m. And prior to that, I was doing a television. So I was a host on a kids TV show, and I also have done reporting for our national news, our nightly national news show. I used to be a reporter for that. And prior to that, I did a little bit of other radio stuff, and I've contracted doing media consulting and helping with radio shows in other countries. And so my media part of my life goes back 30 something years. So
Oh wow.
All right.
yeah, I've done media. I've been in media for a bit.
You've been in media.
And he has to add this to his resume. You came on to the FLGN before we really got launched with Signals, and you came in here and you coached Seth and myself and Shelby, and so I know that that's just one little small minor thing you've ever done, but it really meant a lot to us to have somebody like you coming in here and helping us guide us while we got our our feet wet in this industry or this world.
Well, listen, I think one session doesn't count as coaching, but you guys you guys are just naturally amazing. So I only needed to come on once, and then I was like, my work here is done. And then I wrote it on my CV immediately, and then
there we go.
Right. So yeah, media in 40K. Talk about that. I mean, from my perspective, it's always been started off as like YouTube videos and podcasts, but what has been your experience with media in 40K?
It's really interesting, isn't it? So media, it depends how you define media, but I guess you're talking about content creation and what people provide and what people do.
Outside of the actual game that the company makes.
Yeah. So, boy, it's grown so much. Even in the short time that I've been involved in content creation, it's just gone ballistic. And even the number of podcasts that are available. And I think the challenge is for people, and strangely enough, I was speaking to Stephen Box about this yesterday, just about setting yourself apart, having a unique point of sale. And there are, and this is no criticism of the podcasts that do this, because they have a place and lots of them are really super popular. But there are so many 40K podcasts which is just 3, 4, or 5 guys sitting around talking about whatever, just kind of in a little circle, usually agreeing with each other, patting each other on the back, and talking smack about Tau, and then getting out, and that's which is fine. But there are just so many that then it becomes an issue of how do you stand out from the crowd, right? So, and that in media, that's always the thing. And the way radio stations do it, for example, is that eventually all the radio stations end up under one of 3 or 4 umbrellas. You have your umbrella company, and then they very much become niche targeted. So you go, okay, we are just going to try and appeal to men or women of this specific age group. And then in conjunction with the other radio stations in the stable, we will, make that as broad as possible. And so that when advertisers come on, they target a specific age group with their advertising through your niche marketed radio station. So I feel like that there are lessons to be learned and 40K is already pretty niche, right? Let's be honest. And it's a pretty narrow band. Yeah. But if you've got a bunch of people all doing similar stuff, then those people need to find a way of standing out from the crowd. So Signals has got a way of doing that. You guys have already identified, where you want to be and what you want to hit and what you're delivering, the content you're delivering, and how you're doing it. And I think, actually all the Frontline, with the exception of the one I do, all of the Frontline podcasts, the video element that they have and the streaming live and the TV screens and stuff is all kind of quirky, interesting, cool. And it adds a unique flavor that no one else is doing or no one else has. So, I don't know, this is a really long-winded answer, but I feel like the issue is that there's been this massive explosion of content, and a lot of it is very similar. And you'll find the ones that are not, the ones that are really standing out and doing super well, have got a unique point of difference, or they have a unique character that is a personality which really stands out. Tabletop Tactics have Lawrence Baker, and Lawrence and Bone for years and years and years had this amazing rapport. And if you've got that ability to just get on and give each other a hard time and be great together and just have this rapport, then you're already a big step forward. But there's also, in this massive explosion, you've also got a lot of podcasts and a lot of content creators who have issues with the audio quality or the video quality that they're providing. You need people, if you've got something to say, people need to be able to hear you saying it. And you've just got to, I don't know. I don't really know if I'm answering the question, Seth, but I
you
feel like
you are. I guess
I'm going on a
my
lot.
well, I've been taught when someone does that to rephrase things to them and make sure you understand their points. So that's what we're about to do. So it really, right now there's been a explosion of shows and audio media, video media, and the market, for lack of a better term, being the audience, is over time going to select a few of those to rise above, and then the rest are going to pass it. It's like hair bands in the 80s. There were tons of them, and then a few of them turned into like Motley Crue and Poison. Okay.
Right. And Twisted Sister.
No, don't forget Twisted Sister. That's very important. And then we get occasional ones like Windwham that disappear for decades, and then someone decides to slap on to Peacemaker, and now I'm like, yeah, that's a really good song.
Yeah. We had a band when I was at high school called Skid Marks.
Skid Marks.
And this was in the mid to late 80s. So we did some glam rock numbers.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
So when there's a lot of the similar content, like you were saying, having either targeting a specific community, and then there's shows out there that do that they cater to, like the Flying Monkeys cater to the Lord Marshall Conference. They have their local regional conference, and so they do news on that, and that's the only one that's doing news on that conference. Or you have unique personalities that stand out from the crowd. So I definitely get that. So that's kind of where we've been and where we've gone. But what do you
guys think? Oh, sorry, you take it, Seth.
You jump
in. I'm just really curious because, I mean, Steve, do you watch battle reports? Do you ever watch live streams of like LVO, for example? Yeah. I'm constantly trying to figure out what's the best way to provide that experience without being there, because obviously you're in New Zealand. We got people watching from around the world. LVO streams and almost all the FLGN provide streamed content, whether it's going to be BAO next. There's a lot of people tuning into that, and I want to make sure their experience is as amazing as possible. Are there any tips? I mean, you've obviously been watching now that you said that, but are there tips, recommendations? Do you think we need to do more content showing the convention as a whole, or should it be focused purely on the table? Should we have interviews during the middle of the event to get the players' opinion of what they're doing, or is that too disruptive? I don't know. What are your thoughts? I just want to make sure that the live streams are as awesome as possible.
Honestly, the big thing for me is information and the quality of information that we're getting. And this applies to any sports coverage anywhere in the world. Like, I'm a big sports fan. I watch a lot of sport. I watch a lot of American sport, baseball, NFL, all this stuff. And particularly if you're not in the stadium, right? If you're not directly involved in the game, and 40K is a classic because it's a complicated game. It's not an easy game. And even if you know the rules and you know the game and you understand how things work, if you're watching someone else play and you're not privy to the thinking with their decisions, you're still kind of guessing as to why they're doing what they're doing. You can see they're moving, but you're not sure what they're setting up, or particularly if it's a top level player and they're working 3 or 4 moves ahead, you're kind of like, man, why are they doing that? So it's in any sports coverage, it's about the quality of information, and they have commentators who can help. But the more audio you can get and the more video you can get of what's going on, what specifically is happening, the better, right? So
do you like that the players get mic'd up then? Because I know that's something that a lot of people go back and forth.
Yeah, I really like it. Now, can you have too much of it? Sure. But what you probably don't need from the players is the chit-chat between rounds, or you need them explaining their decisions, their decision-making processes. You don't always necessarily need to know this is shooting at that, but the movement phase is really good to have them up.
I would say that sometimes, I do want to hear them saying like, yeah, I'm shooting at that, because that might be a critical decision, where they're applying those resources, and that's a chance for that. Sometimes I've seen where commentators might get confused. They're like, all right, I'm not sure what he's shooting, but we'll see what the opponent pulls model wise there. And that kind of, to me, takes some of the suspense out of it, because you're like, oh, well, by the time I know what he's shooting, the attack's already done. I know, did the unit survive or not?
Yeah, I really love having the players mic'd. I can't stress that enough. I think the players being mic'd, but also, and look, everybody does it a slightly different way, but when Nick Nanavati was doing the Games Workshop streams, having his level of insight was amazing. Like having him there just saying, look, I think this is what they're going to do and this is why they're going to do it. So even though we couldn't hear the players in that instance, But imagine having both. Imagine if you could hear the players and what they were doing, and then, pulling that back a little bit and having Nick sort of analyze what just went on or what he thinks is about to happen. But finding that balance is obviously going to be tricky, and we're going to have to work that out. But I do think having the players mic'd up is great. Having multiple angles is great. Different being able to see the models up close is really cool. But as you said, Kicker, I'm like on the other side of the world. There is just no. If I'm watching this, there is no way for me to understand what's going on other than what I see on the screen and what I'm hearing from the commentators. And that applies, I guess, to people down the road in Vegas as much as to the people on the other side of the world. Like, we're relying on the information coming through from the microphones and from the TV. So I think, honestly, and this is a big thing you say to people in radio and in television, you've always got to be thinking of the audience, right? You've got to be thinking of the person on the other side of the TV screen or whatever it is, the device they're listening on, and trying to put yourself in their position. What do they want from me? What do they need from me right now? When I first started in radio, I was told, imagine you're talking to a blind person, like you're at a store and you're doing a grand opening for a store. You've got to imagine that the person you're talking to, they can't see anything. So you've got to describe it all to them in detail and give a sense of what it is and the atmosphere. So in answer to your earlier question, Kicker, I think interviews with players, I don't know if that's necessary, maybe beforehand, maybe with what they're wanting to achieve, But I honestly think if we base what we're doing, I mean, there are so many successful sportscasters and sports coverage organizations out there already. We just got to look at what they're doing, the stuff that works, and do that. I mean, it's not a sport exactly, but it kind of is as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think this was like very useful information. I mean, with me as the event manager for Frontline Gaming, I want to make sure every single player in attendance is having the best experience. I mean, the events we do are phenomenal. I mean, they are honestly. I mean, I joined Frontline Gaming because I love the events, and now it's like, wow, I want everyone that's there to have an amazing time, but I also want everyone that's not there to get as much of an amazing time or as close to an experience as being there in person. So that's why I'm like, okay, we got Steve here. Let's figure out how to make that happen. And you're talking about miking up the players, focusing on providing all the information up there so that you may not be there, but at least you get, that's where you come in, right, Seth? You've been helping provide that information on the back end, right?
I've been trying to do some sideline reporting at Cherokee and then at LVO. But I kind of do want to circle back. I like what Steve's saying. I think it's also important to have some of that audio and some of that expert feedback, along with a way for that shoutcaster to engage with chat, because that is a chance for them to make sure what they're conveying is getting across. Like, if someone doesn't understand the table state, if they have no way to interact with that shoutcast and say, hey, is that a unit of Rangers in that centerpiece of terrain, or is that a unit of Strike Scorpions? That's two totally different problems on the board. And
so we need to have somebody moderating that chat and directly responding.
Yeah, I think that's really important too, because that's also a way to keep the audience engaged and keep them from getting lost.
I love it.
I say that because for a year I lectured remotely at work, and if I didn't have chat feedback from my students there and they missed a point during a lecture, there was nothing I could do about it. So having that chat feedback, even if it's a little delayed, helps those people understand what's going on, and also just they have a bit more, for lack of a better term, engagement, or a little bit more invested in what's going on there.
And I love that, and I completely agree. And I think the thing for me is, again, going back to the quality of information that the audience has, and that's all that matters really, is the quality of information via the audio that they're getting and via the camera shots that they're getting. And that, God, aren't we in a great position now that we can provide coverage that has that direct chat ability? So you're getting immediate feedback from your audience, which, God, for so long hasn't been. And if you imagine, say, the NFL, the Super Bowl, can't do that. We're talking about an audience of bajillions around the world. They can't just monitor a chat. But we have that ability, even if it's hundreds or thousands in some cases watching a stream at one time. Having that ability to filter through and go, you know what, we've seen 10 people ask the same question, therefore that's information we need to provide. That's
Speaking
great
of
immediate
chat,
feedback.
let's if you're in the chat right now, please ask away. We have Steve here. Seth is watching the chat right now. If you got any questions, I don't know.
And one of them just popped up on the bottom.
Go for it, Seth.
Bill Robertson says, personally, I think Warhammer games need augmented reality to make them watchable.
Ooh.
Too hard to tell what's on the table. I know that was a piece of technology for the long time that our overlord Val had been working with some groups to make happen. There was Richard, you can tell me the name
here
of it.
comes our tech priest, Richard.
Oh, just like the magic, I pop up. It is actually reality, and hopefully we'll be able to see it at BAO. So yeah.
Ooh, yes, guys, BAO.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully have the whole FLGN team there.
Because I think that's the other thing. Because we're talking about a game of measurements and being able to have a way to accurately measure those things without interacting with the table. Because that was definitely an awkward point for me at LVO and at Cherokee. If there was a question about a game state and I wanted to get an answer, I necessarily didn't want to like go up and ask the players like, "Hey, did you put this thing down in charge range or not?"
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's
You
definitely
don't want to interfere with the
affecting
game.
state, but being able to get some of that information out of the table without directly influencing the players.
No, that's a
'cause
good point, though, Seth. I didn't think about that. You don't want to disrupt the gameplay itself because that could either be annoying to the players or even worse than make them make a wrong move because they're focused on answering your
and talking with Joe a lot at Cherokee, one of his big things on his stream is he doesn't want to affect the game state. He wants to try to get as much information out of the game without directly affecting game state. And I think that's also something to consider because folks can be stressed on stream. They're, particularly if it's later in the event, they're playing at top tables. They're playing for prestige. They've got the lights on them. They've got, a bunch of people. I mean, upwards of thousands of people at some of these bigger events watching. Like there's a lot of pressure. And the last thing you want is some guy being like, "Hey, did you measure that range correctly?"
Yeah. I feel like the look, let's make it like Monday Night Football, right? Or whatever. Being on stream is an honor. Being on stream is super exciting. And yes, it probably gives an advantage to players that are more used to it because it will throw some people off. But it's just what I feel like it's got to become more accepted as one of those things where, if you're on stream, that probably means you're doing pretty well at the event.
Yeah.
So,
so
that's great.
With the stream team to get on round 1 or 2.
Well, round 1 and 2. Yeah.
Or you
but Steve,
in which case you're going to be okay with it.
But Steve, you're absolutely right. People that are hopefully in the running for winning GTs, majors, FLGN, super majors, they probably going to want to get comfortable with being on stream because I don't think it's going away. I think we want to lean into it even more just because people do enjoy that experience that aren't there. We're talking about all these events coming up. We've got the BAO, of course, and whatnot. But Steve, I mean, I know you've got some stuff in the works yourself, right? You've got an event happening soon, right?
Yeah, at the start of April, we've got a look, I feel silly talking about this because by your standards, it's tiny. It's like a speck of dust on the bottom.
But you've got listeners that are watching us now.
Yeah. So we've got an event coming up in New Zealand in Wellington. It's called Warzone Wellington, and 40 players hard cap, and that's just purely down to the amount of terrain that we can get together and get painted and get ready for the event. We had in our town, we had a situation where up until last year, there were 2 people who were running most of the events. And we had an event to go to most months, I would say, in Wellington. And then, it's not far to go to other parts of the country to get to other events. There's something happening most of the time. But in Wellington, both of the men who were doing the events for 2 very different reasons, one left town and the other one had just been doing it for 20 years and decided not to anymore. That was it. He'd had enough. So then there was nothing, right? So we just nothing in town. So a couple of friends of mine and I, Sean and Aaron and I, decided, you know what, we're going to, if we want to play at events, we're going to have to organize the events ourselves. We're going to have to do it. So we decided to put a little group together, and we've started. We've done 2 small ones so far, just to kind of wet our feet and get the idea of what we need to do and how we need to do it, and set up some rules and things. And so this will be our first slightly larger event. I know 40 isn't many, but it's enough to be a GT. So that's
legit. No, that's awesome, man. Congrats.
That's importantly, that's more tables and terrain than a local store would have.
Right.
You have grown beyond just, hey, we're going to do an RTT at an already established community.
That's awesome, dude. Congrats. I mean, that's really exciting that you're not letting a community die. You're actually going to grow it and make it blossom. That's beautiful.
Purely for selfish reasons. I just want to be able to go to tournaments, and like if no one else is going to organize them, well, I guess I'll just have to do it so I can just go and play.
Well, purely for selfish reasons, Frontline Gaming had to design a table because we wanted a table that was perfect
Yeah.
and it didn't exist out there. And guys, the tables are shipping now. Yes, they are finally shipping. I know you've all asked and waited. A lot of people were very jealous at LVO and at Cherokee because we were doing pickups there. The tables shipped. We shipped out every single person that ordered a table in the past 7 days. Those tables are arriving right now. They all shipped out. The warehouse team sent me a photo. It was comical how many tables they had piled up in the parking lot. Yeah, right. They're heavy, dude. They're heavy.
They are heavy.
Heavy tables, and they are out. We're gonna have to get you a table, Steve, as soon as we can figure out how to make shipping to New Zealand realistic.
Oh my God, yeah. The only problem is shipping would cost more than the table would. So I mean, I'm jealous. I'd love to. Like, this is the other thing we've in organizing events. Like, if you're an event organizer, having that table available would just be amazing. We kind of having to go around buying big slabs of wood to put on trestle tables so that we can get people into a hall and play. It's great.
Yeah, and also because they're the perfect size of an actual mat, you don't have any extra wasted space, which means that you can fit in more tables in a more compact venue, because not everyone has massive ballrooms with unlimited space. A lot of people trying to do tournaments, GTs in more confined spaces. They need to save every inch they can. Steve, I know. I think that we're trying to get you some terrain too. I hope we're trying to get you some terrain. I think that was
that'd be amazing. That's the big thing is terrain.
Well, we got 2 out of the 3 lasers. We have these big commercial industrial lasers. We were down to 1. We're back up to 2 now, and the 3rd one should be up and running soon. So I know terrain's going to be shipping. We have a lot of people asking for that fully colored terrain stuff. Seth, did you see the poll on the Frontline Gaming Community Group? Did you see that
I
poll?
did. Yes. I did.
We wanted to ask everyone, hey, what time should we start our day 1 of each event? I purely needed to know this because I myself wake up pretty early. I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's get this going.
Yeah, after his 5 a.m. run.
Right, 5 a.m. I know.
After that,
I know. I mean, I can't help it. I wake up early, but our traditionally 40K events, at least within the US and at all the FLG events, has started at 10 a.m. And I'm like, that's a little late. And then I started talking to the Legion guys. I talked to the X-Wing guys. I talked to the Kill Team guys, and all their tournaments start at 9 a.m., 8:30. And so I wanted to put the poll out there in the community group. What time do you think we should start day 1 at? Because, traditionally it's 10 a.m., but do we need to stick with that? So we put it 10 a.m., 9 a.m., and 8 a.m. And Seth, what do you think the response was, man?
The response was 9 a.m.
Yes. And you're absolutely correct. Steve, what time do your events start? You're running events. You are a TO now, man. What time do you start your round 1?
Wow, we normally would start at around 8:30.
8:30. Look at that. There we go. Boom. 8:30.
Yeah, which is but 9 sounds much more friendly, and it's just purely a matter of 40K takes a long time, and we want.
Exactly.
And I guess it depends which end of the day you're looking at, kind of helping people out. Where our thinking is, we want to finish it at a time where people can get away and get some rest and get some dinner and get some sleep and get themselves set up for day 2.
Yeah. And that was so far the response. I'm looking at the comment thread. So if you want to cast your vote, go to the Frontline Gaming Community Group on the Facebook page, on the Facebook community group, and cast your vote on the poll. But so far, there's quite a few. I mean, hundreds of people have voted, and by far, people are saying 9 a.m. And a lot of the comments is exactly what Steve said.
Now,
Seth,
I have to speak for on behalf of the 10 a.m.ers here.
Yes, let's hear it.
If I remember correctly. And this is like way back in the deep recesses of my memory here. I believe the 10 a.m. decision, or at least what I remember it was, is when LVO started, Reese on Signals, no less, said that 10 a.m. was so that folks could go out and have a good time the night before and have a chance to sleep it off before. So I definitely understand why some of the 10 a.m.ers want it, but I am with you, Kicker, in that like I'm awake by 5 or 6 in the morning anyway. So like
before a tournament, come on, dude, the adrenaline's rushing, right?
I want to get going.
So somebody else had a good point that they were saying, and this was one of the comments that I was reading just before we came on air tonight. They were saying that a lot of people travel in that morning before the event because they don't, because of work obligations or whatever. So having it start at 10 a.m. makes it realistic. They can get in their car at theoretically 5 a.m. and then drive into the venue to the event. So that's just another counterpoint there to the 9 a.m. 8 a.m. start. But we'll be reassessing. It looks like for Atlantic City Open we will be moving up based purely off this poll. We will be moving up our schedule not to 9 a.m. but to 9:30. We're kind of splitting the baby. I hate that term. I think it's terrible because it's like ripping up children in half or something. That's a thing, right? That's an Americanism, right, Seth? You split the baby.
That's like, what is it, like King Solomon?
I don't know. I'm not American. I'm a terrible American. I hear all these things.
Someone tell me if I'm right.
Split the difference. Maybe splitting the difference.
Yeah, I was going to King Solomon, like cut the baby in half, and then the mother was like, no, the real mother was like, no, let the other woman have it. That's how he knew.
Yeah. I you know what, man? We're just gonna
That's
split
like a
the baby on
biblical
this one.
story.
All right.
That's not an American story.
Is
All right.
that,
We're
is that split the
splitting-
baby? Is that an American thing or a New Orleans thing or just a kicker?
I
thing,
think it's a
right?
New Orleans thing.
Maybe it's
We're
New
just-
Orleans.
We're going to, yeah, right. I not only am I not very good at being American, I do live in New Orleans where we make all sorts of weird sayings and stuff. So splitting the difference, we're going to go to 9:30 start time for Atlantic City Open. I want to jump into LSO. We got to talk about this real fast, guys. The tickets for the Lone Star Open are live right now. Can we get that beautiful artwork, Mr. Richard, our tech priest? The LSO is live. Get your tickets now. Get your room now. LSO, the room block sold out not once, not twice, but 3 times last year. I had to beg them to keep on adding rooms in for 2021. This year, they
Like
told
how
me
the
they're not
picture
adding a
just
single
covered
room.
Steve.
Say what? Oh yeah, sorry.
Pictures.
We lose Steve as the artwork comes in on our visual there. But yeah, so LSO, it did sell. The room block sold out last year. I've been told multiple times by management this year they are not going to add more rooms. So when the room block sells out, and it will sell out, you're going to be stuck having to pay a significantly higher rate. Now this is a legit Marriott. The hotel has been totally upgraded, and it is beautiful. And and our rate is still really, really good. So make sure you jump on that. Talking about the LSO, let's also make sure that everyone knows this is our military appreciation event. This is Frontline Gaming saying, hey, thanks you guys in the armed forces. You guys rock. So if you're in the military, there's all sorts of special perks and whatnot you can do. When you're buying your 40K ticket, you want to make sure you get the branch that you served in. And yes, you have to have served in that branch currently or formerly. Otherwise, you need to put yourself as neutral or civilian. This is because your score will be involved in our figuring out which is the best branch at the event. More details to follow on that. I do want to tell you guys that the judges for the Lone Star Open have all got military experience. The 40K head judge is Kyle. He's a Marine. The Age of Sigmar head judge is Gavin. He's also the number 1 in the ITC for Age of Sigmar. Let's just say that, but he's Army. Kill team, we got Caesar there. He's Air Force. X-Wing. Okay, it's not military, but it's kind of close. It's NASA. That's Brent. He's a legit NASA dude. So we got X-Wing. Oh, MCP is Coast Guard. And for Star Wars Legion, it's a teacher. Yes, it's a high school teacher. But he's a wonderful gentleman, and so he may not have got military experience. Ben is an amazing, amazing human being, and we're so fortunate to have him run Star Wars Legion at the LSO. Let's jump into the ACO real fast. Let's show up that artwork, Mr. Tech Priest. This is the grand reveal of the Atlantic City Open 2022 artwork. Boom.
Hey, hold on, Kicker.
Oh, yeah.
There is questions.
Oh, we got questions. Okay. Well, let's show up that artwork real fast. That is a beautiful orc holding a Tommy gun because, yes, the ACO takes place near the boardwalk of famed Boardwalk Empire fame. Let's go to those questions and we can get rid of that artwork. We'll post it tomorrow on the Facebook page.
It is quite pretty. I'm glad you finally chose an orc. There have been many FLG logos depicting many armies,
but no orcs. I asked no more Space Marines. I love Space Marines. They're great.
Because you've had Space Marines, you've had Guardsmen, you've had Eldar.
Well, Guardsmen, come on, are kind of underrepresented. We have had quite a few Eldar, but yeah. Okay, we did have a Space Wolf. Yeah, no more Space Marines.
They should all be Space Wolves. They should just be Space Wolves.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for
our resident Space Wolf player. Steve, I should have saved you a shirt. The shirt from Cherokee was so cool with this. I know they don't have Space Wolf characters riding bears, but they should.
Close enough. We've got Space Wolves riding, Vikings riding giant wolves in space, which is the whole point of 40K. It's ridiculous but cool.
It's awesome. What do we got in the chat, Seth?
Folks talking about having real Space Marines judge 40K. You got BAO to hit, and then we'll move on, Kicker.
All right, let's hit BAO. BAO, guys, the price does increase on March 11th. So if you're listening to the recording of this podcast, it might be too late. March 11th is a few days away. We're recording this on Wednesday. So yes, the BAO, if you're going, make sure you get your ticket now. A lot of people like to wait to the last minute, but don't. Why pay $35 more? It's not necessary. Yeah. So yes, get your BAO tickets now.
Oh, okay. One comment from the chat that is important about Lone Star. It's Hyper Bunny says when he checked out, it defaulted to Army. It can see people not noticing and ending up in that branch. So something for you to look into, Kicker, I guess.
Yeah. Is his name? We got Hyper Bunny. I love that, by the way. That's a great screen name. Hyper Bunny. Yeah, just shoot me an email and I can manually adjust your.
And that's something, for folks to keep aware of. And if you have issues and you signed up under the wrong branch or incorrectly signed up under a branch when you're a civilian, Kicker's your man.
Boom. Gotcha.
He will answer you during his toilet time, I've been told.
No. If it's an email, I will do it while I'm working at my desk. If it's a text message, it's while I'm on the toilet. So there we go. All right.
Got it. So I get Kicker's
You,
toilet
Seth,
time.
that special time is
man.
just dedicated to you and
I'm
my
real
close
touched,
friends.
I'm real touched. Okay.
Seth, tell
All
us what's
right,
happening in the network. Yeah, let's
yeah,
kick
in the
it out.
network. So this week, Grim After Dark, they finally had Taylor back on. It was supposed to be a lore episode. It was more just like them geeking out about Harlequins for like 45 minutes, or as they would call them, murder clowns. Chapter Tactics is still rolling this week. Thursday shows coming on tomorrow. Excuse me.
Oh, got a
Nope,
burp.
thought I was going to sneeze. Didn't sneeze.
Sneeze
Okay,
or burp.
cool.
You can sneeze or burp. It's okay. It's
there is no War Games Live this week. It's our lovely friend Joe is taking the week off. Kicker, what do you think Joe is doing with his lovely week off?
I mean, dude, I think he's just hiding in the woods, not talking to human beings.
He's getting a root canal.
Oh, he's getting a root canal. That is
yeah
terrible. Oh my gosh.
I was like, Joe, that's not a good way to spend your vacation, buddy.
Hey, can we ask our special guest if he's got, maybe, a preview of what's to come from him?
Yeah.
Steve,
yeah.
what do you got on the workbench?
This is going to save me having to do a little video myself, which I was going to have to do because as of yesterday, my wife tested positive for COVID-19, which means we as a household are locked down and locked in, which means that the interview I recorded yesterday, New Zealand time, with Mr. Stephen Box about his amazing career. Boy, there's so much you don't know about Mr. Stephen Box that has come up in the chat. Boy, it's a very, 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 very honest and at times quite raw interview. So, but I can't get to it. I recorded it at work, came home, then we did the test, it was positive. I can't now leave the house. So normally this would drop Monday, Northern Hemisphere time. I would have my latest interview up, but that ain't going to happen because I can't get to work to edit it or upload it or do anything with it. It's just stuck.
But that's worth the wait, though. I mean, first of all, everything you do is great. But Stephen Box, he's a character, man. He's a gentleman. Cool. He's a saint. He's a great person to talk to. So I can't wait for that episode. That one's worth the wait.
In the interim, what I would like everybody to do is go and Google Stephen Box bodybuilding and have a look at some of the pictures that have been in some of the magazines since he was a very young man. That'll give you a little taster as to the first 5 minutes of the 10 minutes in the chat.
Stephen, congrats, buddy.
Right?
Good job.
Seth is currently doing this.
I currently did, yes.
Seth, do you want to take us into the competitive news?
Yeah.
Going on right now?
So not a lot's happening in the competitive community in terms of meta. The Eldar book really hasn't hit the meta. It's been out, but we just haven't really seen it get into events because most events have usually like a 2-week cutoff. So not a lot going on there. Custodes and Tau continue to have an obscene win rate. We're crossing our fingers that we're going to be seeing some balanced data slate coming out soon. Theoretically, that's supposed to be in April, Kicker.
Yeah.
If they stick to their every 3 months plan. If it's quarterly, it can be a little bit more loose than that. But if it's every 3 months, then it's supposed to be in April. So yeah, not a ton going on that front. I'm sorry I don't have a ton of news for you guys this week. But we can get into our ITC recap.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So on the 40K competitive track, our number 1 is the lovely red-haired menace himself, Quentin Johnson. Number
pink
2
hair,
is oh no, it's changed again.
There's a purple. I don't know. He changes his hair all the time.
No, the rankings. I get them on Tuesday. They change them on Wednesday. They do it just to mess me up. I'm gonna have to do this live
every week now.
Oh, geez. Okay, so who's
give me a second. I'm doing it live. I'm doing it live. I can't read the screen. It's pixelated on my version. Number 1 is Sean Rice.
Yeah.
There we go.
Number 2 is Quentin Johnson. Sorry, Quentin.
Sorry.
Number 3, James Marsden. Number 4, Thomas Ogden. And number 5, Joni Velasquez. I can't say words tonight. Sorry, Johnny. All right, I'm gonna have to pull up the hobby track.
The hobby track is important because I think I know one of the guys in the lead, and he's a
give me a second. I have to do this live now.
Right, do it live. No pressure.
Just opening tabs manically.
But that is something, Steve, I think you should consider bringing into your tournament is the hobby track. I know that with GW really involved now with more of competitive play, we want to grow the hobby track. Are you going to add that to your tournaments? Is that a part of your?
It's a great idea. Look, we haven't talked about that. We've been running it as simple as possible, but a big thing for me and for the other guys involved in this is we really, really want to up the level of what we're doing in terms of even the venues that we have it at. We want to be able to have it at proper, venues with a bar and accommodation options and things like that. So, really upping the quality of the event for people. And Hobby Track is really important. I saw Quentin Johnson was in 3rd place on the Hobby Track. So he's obviously, he's doing amazing things.
Look at that guy.
Yep. So speaking of Hobby Truck, number 1 is Jamie Pirazzolo. I think I'm saying that right, Jamie. Number 2, Eric Mullins.
Yes, that guy helped us unload at Cherokee. So just thank you, Eric. I appreciate it.
Did he get extra Hobby Track points for that?
He should have. Jeez.
That's how you get Hobby Track points, folks. Number 3 is Quentin Johnson. Number 4, Stephen Scott. And number 5, Nathan Fennell. Hopping on over to the AOS rankings. Number 1 is Levin Sichinavana. Number 2, Thomas Guan. Number 3, Alexander Gonzalez. Number 4, Matt Nguyen. And number 5, John Anderson. Mr. Anderson. I couldn't resist a Matrix quote. God, I'm sorry.
John was at Cherokee too. This just shows going to Cherokee.
Did he help unload a truck?
He helped
or load a truck.
Set up. He actually helped set up. Boom,
See,
there we go.
Collusion.
There's no bias here.
Helping kicker at events gets you Hobby Track points.
No, he just worked his ass off, and he also, kicks ass on the table. So, yeah, thank you, John.
All right, over to the AOS Hobby Track rankings. Still, everything one here has only got 1 score, so there's still a lot of movement to be done this season. Number 1, Russ Tanner. Number 2, Rob Card. Number 3, Blade Duel, and that's how I'm pronouncing it because that's how I think it's supposed to be pronounced. Number 4, Eddie Andrews, and number 5, William Froel.
Awesome.
And I definitely butchered that name, but it's fine.
Seth, do we have any questions in the chat regarding?
I was reading websites live, so let me go back to chat. Yeah. So, 3 of the top 5 40K Hobby Track are on the same team.
Wow.
What team is that, Hyper Bunny? Let us know.
Is that Hobby Goblins out of Jacksonville?
Now I got to check.
You got to check. So I got to ask. It's a question I wanted to ask during your interview earlier, Steve, but I didn't know where it would be appropriate. Everyone knows that it's way more expensive to get models in New Zealand than in the USA. So are people spending a lot more time painting each model because they can't go out and just shop like it's more difficult to go out and shop like crazy? And so you really commit to those models and you spend time really hobbying them up, or is it kind of like it's just,
well, I guess it's just all things are relative, right? It's just what we're used to. These are the prices we pay. And you only really find out the difference when you talk to people overseas. I just went and bought, I've got him here. I just went and bought this fella here, Illuminor Zeras.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
I went and got it yesterday.
Beautiful model,
I don't know what this goes for in other countries, but this is 99 New Zealand dollars. Which, to give you an idea, New Zealand dollars are really similar to Canadian dollars. I think we pay... It's about a New Zealand dollar is about 60 US cents. That's
68 US cents. I'm Googling everything tonight.
Well, that has always been one of my fears is if I ever left the US. Well, I mean, okay, if you go to the UK, it's surprisingly affordable for these miniatures. But I was always worried about going. Like my wife and I, we love New Zealand, we love Australia, and we're always like, I would have to start making a lot more money just to help.
That's right. Right. This is not a hobby for the broke. This is you've got to be doing all right. Most of my it is, but it yes, it's expensive, and I've had this conversation with people before, just about how much money you put into the hobby. The thing is, for me, New Zealand's a relatively expensive place to live anyway. So if I want to go to the movies, it's going to be expensive. Just going out for a meal is going to be expensive. And I always look at the amount I get out of, the enjoyment I get out of every dollar that I'm putting in. If I want to take my kids to a movie over here, and by the time you buy ice creams or popcorn or whatever, that's $100 down the toilet. Compared to, that's maybe a bad example, one model, but if I buy a box of toys for $100, I mean, that's hours just painting and putting them together and enjoying them, and then you get to play them. So
Richard, I see you've snuck in here.
Yeah.
Richard,
actually, there was a question for you, Steve. Who is your favorite Space Wolf character from Wolf?
My favorite named character has to be Ragnar Blackmane. He's cool.
Okay.
And
isn't that the wimp that tried to kill Gazgul?
Yes, he did try to kill Gazgul. But what about sculpt? Do you have a favorite sculpt, like miniature, that you're like, that is my favorite miniature to see on the table?
Old Ragnar model.
I've Do you know what I love? Are we talking just Space Wolves here?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's go with Space Wolf because that's what you can pick one Space Wolf and one non-Space Wolf.
Oh, God, I'm looking. You can't like. I'm looking up at the shelf of toys. I'm in my little room with all the shelf of toys. A lot of my favorite sculpts are the ones that I put together myself. My ones that I've hacked together. Do you know what I love? I love the Wolfen. I just love the Wolf. They're a nightmare to paint, but they are very, very cool models on the table.
They look so cool with the axes, man. Like I just think they look so badass. Yeah.
I need to jump in here because
guys.
Our beloved Tamagotchi Express says, by the way, Kicker, I have an extra metal Karandras and Baharoth if you want them. And I'm here to tell you, Tamagotchi, no, don't give him Eldar. He doesn't need them. He's going to go back to guard. As soon as the guard book drops, those Eldar putting on the shelf.
It won't give you extra hobby track points either. Like if that's what you're after here, hobby track points, that's not going to...
Oh, yeah. We could get you hobby points.
Just to clear my name, I have no influence on any of the scores. I run the events and I'm not a judge. I don't involve any of the scoring purposely so to keep some separation of all that.
All right. Well, let's wrap this one up for the night. Thank you so much for Steve for joining us. Oh, we do have another question.
One more question.
Oh, Steve had a question. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I did, but it was ages ago and the moment is gone. I was just going to ask, is that guy's name really Blade Duel? Because that's like the coolest name on the face of the earth. If I was
it might be. There's some interesting names out there. It's whatever you put into BCP, that's your name.
Yeah, I understand. But that's like, we had I used to do around journalism, used to follow a motorcycle racer, a local guy who rides a motorbike, and his name is Sloan Frost. And I always thought, if you're riding a bike at like a million miles an hour down the straight and you're hooning into corners, rubbing your knee on the ground, Sloan Frost is just such a cool name. I love that name.
Anyway. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's
like
awesome.
Blade Duel is right up there.
Blade Duel, yeah. I mean, that's
play Combat Army.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm assuming he's got Drazar in his army or someone like that.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that. All right. Again, thank you so much for joining us, Steve. We really appreciate you coming on. We appreciate all the support you've had from the network. We love everything you've been doing with Game Changers. So keep it up. We're excited for you to get your new episode out whenever you can get that out. But we'll have to be patient in the meantime. You've got to be safe. Do you have any final thoughts for us before we head out for the night?
No, man, just keep hobbying, keep enjoying it. I'm loving it. I just, you know what? I love the models. I love the game. Stay positive. It's just, for me, it's all about just getting time at the table and hanging out with friends and enjoying it. And it's very easy to get grumpy about your Chaos Marines only having one wound, or your Eldar taking so long to get this amazing codex, or your Necrons that I'm just building right now, getting into my... where are they? Necron army.
Hello. Oh, nice blade, dude.
Good on that dude. But you know, there's a lot of opportunity to get a little grumpy about little things. But you know what? This is fun. We do it for fun. It's a fun time, and it's cool hanging out with friends and catching up with you guys and just talking hobby all the time. It's cool.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Signals from the Frontline. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Good night, guys.